Hello class, in this video we'll be exploring crimes against property. The four main crimes that we're going to focus on today are larceny, burglary, robbery, and vandalism. Now I'm going to assume that some of you probably know some of the crimes on this list already, but some of them you may think you know and you may actually have the wrong definition. So we're going to go through each and make sure that we clearly understand the sometimes subtle differences between all four of these crimes. So our first crime against property is larceny. Now larceny oftentimes is often called stealing. Okay, larceny is when you take something without the intent to return it. It's pretty straightforward. Now what will determine the punishment with larceny is what is the value of the item that you stole, okay, that you took without the intent to return it. The punishment for stealing a candy bar at the gas station is not going to be nearly the same as stealing a brand new car off the dealership lot. Okay, so the value of what is being taken is going to determine whether or not this crime results in a misdemeanor or a felony. Burglary is when you break and enter to steal. Okay, that's when you break into someone's home with the intent of trying to steal property out of the home. Okay, that also can be a misdemeanor or felony depending on the circumstances. At what time of day did you break in? Were there people in the building when you broke in? Did you enter the home while you had a weapon? You know, those are some examples of what may make the difference between misdemeanor burglary charges or felony burglary charges. Is robbery. Now robbery is when you wrongfully take something with violence or the threat of violence. Okay, generally that's going to be a felony. 99% of the times if you are robbing somebody, that means that you're threatening them with violence or you're actually using violence so that you can take something from them. It's going to result in a felony. Oftentimes robbery involves the use of a deadly weapon, which just adds to the severity of the sentencing when it comes time to convict somebody of committing robbery. Okay, but we can see that some of the differences now between larceny, robbery, and burglary. Larceny, you're simply taking something, okay? There's not a whole lot to it. You're taking something without the intent of giving it back. Burglary, you're breaking into somebody's home in order to take something. So the difference there is whether or not you're in somebody's home when you're taking something. And then robbery involves the use of violence or the threat of violence in order to take something. Okay, all three crimes, somebody is taking something without the intent to return it. Robbery includes violence or threat of violence. Burglary involves just breaking into somebody's house to take something, and then larceny is taking something from somebody just without the intent to return it. There's no weapon, there's no threat of violence, you're not going into somebody's house in order to commit larceny. Now our fourth crime is vandalism. Now this is the willful or malicious damage to property. Malicious means intentional. Okay, willful or malicious damage to property. Okay, so we can see the photo here. Somebody broke the windows out of a store. They willfully or they maliciously damaged the property of that store. Okay, they broke the windows. Now, vandalism applies to associates and lookouts. So anybody that's involved with vandalism can be charged with vandalism. You don't need to be the one doing the actual damage to be charged with vandalism. If you're standing there and you're the person handing the other person rocks to throw at the window, you're an associate. If you're watching to keep a lookout for cops, you're an associate of the crime and you can be charged with vandalism. Okay, that's an important point to remember. You don't need to be the one actually doing the damage. If you're involved in the process of the damage, you can be charged with vandalism. Okay, so I put together this slide that sort of outlines some of the differences between burglary, robbery, and larceny. Okay, all of these three things you're taking stuff, okay? Typically people would say you're stealing. There are some differences though. Burglary, it's when you break into something. Okay, if you break into a house, if you break into a car, you're committing burglary. It doesn't matter if the house or the car are locked or not. It's not your property to enter, so therefore you're breaking into it in order to take something. Okay, robbery. Stealing with violence or threat of violence. Okay, it's usually a felony. It's very bad. If you're convicted of robbery, you're probably going to be facing significant jail time. Okay, larceny is common theft or stealing. It's just when you take something of value, but you're not breaking into anything to take it. Maybe there's, maybe somebody is stealing somebody's purse. Okay, they didn't break into a car to steal the purse. They didn't break into the home to steal the purse. They just took it off somebody's shoulder. Okay, they didn't use any violence. They just used their hand to grab the purse and ran away. That would be larceny. Okay, so it's important to know the differences between these three crimes because they do share some similarities. This concludes our discussion of crimes against property.